this so that if anyone would need to listen to it, it will be available. And there's Krista. Hello, Krista. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Dawn.
Welcome.
Hi.
And who's ever calling in, you might need to let me know. Oh, I know who it is. Never mind.
It's
Yes, it's
it's Catherine. You
thank you.
silly Kathy. You're welcome.
I should know that by now, and I get thrown, and I just can't.
It's okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Still waiting on the fellows to join us.
C. Plowley?
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Kathy.
I feel like I'm in three different time zones. I have like three clocks around me, and they're all different times. So I'm not sure what time it is at the moment. But you tell me when we need to get this party started, Pat.
I think, aren't we waiting on Nathan?
I didn't know if Nathan was maybe with you.
No. He's working remote and so am I.
Okay. The
So he's,
background is a little blurred today, Pat. I couldn't quite tell where you are.
oh, I'm at home. Yeah.
Okay.
They're renovating the offices in Harrisburg, so we'll be home for a month or so.
Uh, well, I've always enjoyed your meetings with us when you're calling in from
Yeah.
home. I like you're in a remote place in the woods. It's very nice.
Yeah. Um, I apologize. Carly was going to join us, but she had a uh prearranged appointment this afternoon. Carly Omer, the new Mark Morelli.
Mark, you left us so soon, so suddenly.
Yeah, well, no, he had a plan, but um I didn't realize he should have let you know sooner, but he's in Florida.
Oh, I know. Of course, that's where they get all the hurricanes now. So
Right, exactly.
I have two sister-in-laws that live in different areas of Florida, and they both were disturbed by them this
Right.
year. Yeah.
I have some friends that live down there near uh Newport Richie or in Tampa and all that area. That's where it hit landfall and
Yeah.
his house was pretty much wiped out. So
Yeah. I really wouldn't like that. Plus, I don't like alligators and
oh, yeah, I'm not a
things.
it's too humid down there.
Yeah. Okay, Nathan, I see you've joined us, and I know that you are pressed for time. So I don't know if you wanted to just take the mic now and get the meeting started.
Sure, we can do some introductions.
Okay, very
Um,
good.
I will have to leave it too, but I should have time
Okay.
to say hello around. I can start though. I'm Nathan Lampenfeld. I'm the William and Hannah Penn Fellow with the Pennsylvania Department of Aging and the project lead for the refresh.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later.
Thank you. Pat?
Pat Lally, I'm the program manager for the PA Link. Nathan and I are working close together on the refresh. Can you hear me? Someone's
Yes.
okay.
Krista?
Phone just jumped up.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Krista Gear. I'm the Executive Director of Active Aging, Crawford County's Agency on Aging. I think Nathan knows me.
Ah, And Krista is also the fiscal manager for our service area for
Right.
the, okay. Karen? Oh, Karen can't hear me. Yes, she can hear me. She can only wave. Okay. Dawn? Up.
Hi, I'm Dawn Edwards. I'm Regional Housing Coordinator for Inglis.
Thank you. Candace?
Hi, I'm Candace Parson. I'm the executive director over at Clarion. I apologize for not being on camera. I'm a little under the weather right now, so I
Oh,
am working from home.
oh, well, I hope you feel better soon. Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you.
Lucy? I'm not sure what Lucy's doing. We'll we'll move on to Michelle.
I'm Michelle DeWoody. I would turn my camera on, but our internet's pretty bad here. So if I turn it on, I won't be able to hear you. So I'm the, I'm the director of Venango County Older Adult Services.
Thank you, Michelle. Matt?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Matt Perkins. I'm the CEO of Service Coordination Unlimited. We do a lot of case management service coordination services.
Thank you, Matt. We'll try Lucy again, and if not, we'll move on. Lucy?
Do you mean Catherine?
I don't see any Lucy. There's no Lucy on the list. I'm not
Use
sure.
the phone number.
No, that's
Cat-
Catherine.
Oh, Catherine. Well, where'd we lose Lucy at? Okay, Catherine, I'm sorry. I thought you were Lucy.
That's okay. Hi, everybody. Catherine Ream, Regional Executive Director for the Northwest Special Olympics. And I apologize, I'm not on camera. I'm in my car. As soon as I get back to my office, I'll jump on my machine.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Okay, well, Lucy is out there somewhere, but I'm sure she'll be back. Okay, that looks like everyone. I don't believe I've missed anyone, so we'll turn this over to you, Nathan.
All right, thank you. I'll share my slides here. Oh, could you grant me sharing permission? Okay.
There you go.
Everyone able to see my slides properly? Full screen? Okay. Yep. So today we're here to talk about the PA Link refresh project. Also, couple notes. So I've done this presentation quite a few times. I tend to go through it quite quickly. So if I need to slow down, let me know. And if you have any questions throughout, please raise your hand and I'll answer them. No need to wait for the end. Okay, so Aging Our Way PA is Pennsylvania's 10-year strategic plan, and it was designed to help transform the infrastructure and supports for older adults as they age. When we developed Aging Our Way PA, we had, I'm sure as you're all aware, held listening sessions, at least one in every county, and 210 sessions in total. Through that process, as well as letters, emails, calls, all sorts of ways, we collected about 20,000 points of engagement, 20,000 data points, basically. And through that, we developed our 5 priorities, one of which includes education and navigation, which is basically what we're here to talk about today. So some of the themes that were highlighted in that regard were that between many of the different resources at the national, state, and local levels, people really didn't know where to turn, especially at the start of their needs. We know that, I'm sorry, I have jackhammering going on in the back, so I don't know if you can all hear that, but hopefully not. Okay. Older adults are not always aware of what resources and services or other opportunities that they may be entitled to or that may be available for them. We know that AAAs and SILs provide valuable information for older adults, people with disabilities, and caregivers, but they're not really widely recognized by the broader community, and especially people tend to seek those types of agencies when they're in a crisis or when they're not really in a proactive or planning for needs type of way. We know that people want to speak to a real person, not necessarily a robocall, not really an answering machine. And we know that people are not as interested in navigating websites. They want to speak to someone that can answer their questions, provide them real advice in honest and understandable terms. And we know that community members are interested in a more recognized, trusted, and singular source of information. Basically, that one-stop shop or that one place that they can go. It will help them facilitate and manage their connections to navigate the very complicated and fragmented system of long-term services and supports. Based on all of those themes, we worked with our steering committee for Aging Our Way PA, the Long-Term Care Council, to develop a tactic just so to remediate those challenges. They determined that they wanted to build on the PA Link because it was an existing program, had some scaffolding that they could work on, and it's a program basically with funding, with structure that really just needs to be modernized and improved. So they created this tactic that is to refresh the PA Link program by conducting a comprehensive program evaluation, redesigning a local and statewide no wrong door system, establishing channels for information and referral, managing a statewide resource database for case management, exploring resource or outreach systems for follow-up and assistance, and launching a public awareness campaign. We'll get into a lot. I know it's very long-winded, a lot of commas and ands and ands. So we'll get into those specific components in a little bit, but basically a very comprehensive tactic to improve the PA Link with some specific instructions. So this might be a bit of a refresh, but in many states, ADRCs help older adults, people with disabilities, and caregivers by offering unbiased advice and support, helping people make informed decisions about their choices and options in long-term services report and supports, and referring them or assisting them in accessing both public and private programs. We like to focus on, it's older adults, disabilities, and veterans and caregivers are the populations there, and it's really the ADRCs offer them seamless referral. They maximize existing resources by working together, and they strengthen collaboration among these community organizations, much like yourselves, that can assist where their own agency might not be able to. The PA Link is Pennsylvania's network of ADRCs. And they offer, 5 main functions: enhanced assistance in information assistance. So a little more than just that INR, what's a phone number to this agency. They offer person-centered counseling, which is another step forward, but basically below case management, screening and assessment, making sure that, people may present a couple needs. I need meals, or I need help with personal care, but oftentimes there are underlying or unmet needs that can be addressed with screening and assessment. And short-term service coordination, and then, of course, transition services. ADRCs are an important part of the model for the no wrong door system, but are not the no wrong door system entirely. That system is a coordinated network of state agencies and community-based organizations that promote streamlined access to LTSS through coordinated points of access and entry. So, collecting all this information, basically the themes that we heard of people's challenges with navigation, the opportunity to enhance the PA Link, where the Long-Term Care Council wanted us to focus on regarding the PA Link, we worked internally to define this early sort of vision for what the redesigned program will be. So the redesigned version will be a highly visible, reliable, universal access point to aging and disability-related services in the state, provides seamless, convenient, and a satisfactory experience for older adults, caregivers, and people with disabilities when seeking information and support in navigating that LTSS system. People will have equitable access to community supports. So I'm from Pittsburgh, but live in Philly, and you're all from Erie. So we would all have the same experience in that navigation, not necessarily the same community supports. Of course, every area is going to have their different supports and agencies. And then finally, the entire community, that's the broader public, will be commonly aware of a recognized and trusted entryway into the network of resources, services, and providers. I like to sort of relay this to the PA Link will be the golden arches to the Aging and Disability Resource Center and to our networks that work together. So we designed a project proposal to address the tactic, basically refreshing the program through program evaluation and then those specific components as well. And that process will help us create and implement different strategies that address some of these components below. So the state governance and oversight, which includes modernization of the program requirements. We know that the Pennsylvania PA Link really started in 2010, much when the federal and national sort of movement started, the concepts were first developed. But much has changed since then. So there's a lot of opportunity to modernize, to catch up with how the other states have designed their systems and what the sort of federal model looks like or national model looks like. Next, we have statewide contact center improvements. Right now we have the call center, that's the 1-800 number. People can email it, I think, as well, but really focusing on a contact center that is accessible in many ways, whether that's call, chat, text, making sure it's offered in multiple languages and those types of things, and other ways that we can improve the contact center as well. Statewide branding and communications, again, trying to make sure we're all using the same message, that people understand what the PA Link is and what it does, how it can help them, but also making sure we bolster our brand awareness, that we have an identity that's consistent across the state and people can recognize the program. Next is program funding and sustainability. It's currently funded solely through Title 19 match funding, but there's a lot of newer opportunities to pull on funding for work that's already being done. So working on the one-time infrastructure funding as well as that continued program funding. Next, information systems, including implementing case management tools. So making sure our IT systems and our tools are working to the best ability. Also integrating, PA Navigate is that self-directed navigation tool. Trying to integrate that into our practice of connecting people to their local resources in a way that's meaningful. There's a lot to be improved about PA Navigate, so we may be able to help inform that improvement as well. So it works best for the PA Link and the ADRCs, as well as for the PA Navigate itself. Next, local capacity building. So making sure that people have the time, the manpower, the know-how to provide that navigation on a more sophisticated level than just answering a phone and referring to another agency, but trying to help people really ensure that they're getting the information and resources that they need. And then finally, local partner networks and relationships. So that's much like this group, making sure that we can strengthen how we're working together collaboratively and supporting each other. All right, so we have 4 main phases outlined in the project. That is project initiation, which is basically done already. Research, discovery, and analysis, the strategic planning, and then phase 4 is implementation. So like I said, project phase 1 is basically done. That was working out a project plan that outlines our timelines, our deliverables, and different contingencies that we need to be prepared for and aware of. We defined our project scope and objectives and the deliverables that we'll use to keep engaging and communicating with our stakeholders. We mapped out, again, the people that we need to talk to. Yes, Krista.
It says recruit an advisory committee, and you said that phase is essentially done. Do you have that advisory committee established?
Yes, and I will. There's a couple more slides, and then I'll detail what the point of the advisory committee is and who's on it.
There, thank you.
So yeah, so mapping our relevant stakeholders, that is, our program staff, our oversight committees, our lead coordinators, and of course the people doing the work every day, the local staff, as well, and then our advisory committee. Like I said, I'll touch on that in a couple of slides. And then we have a plan for how we're going to communicate and update people on the progress of the project. So phase 2, really about the program evaluation that will help us come up with recommendations for what needs to change and what should change. And that will include desk research to define the current aging disability, sort of the service offerings in PA. We'll document the history and evolution of the program. And then the meatier component is the gathering information, opinions, and insight from the relevant stakeholders. So basically, conducting surveys, key informant interviews, and focus groups with all of our stakeholders to assess the program, understand what's working and what's not working. And then finally, we'll also conduct interviews with other states and our national and federal partners to identify common and promising practices from outside of our own network. And that's already started as well. Spoke to probably, I think, 6 or 7 states so far. All right, phase three is the strategic planning. This will mostly be done with our advisory committee, but then we'll of course have opportunities for comment and review, et cetera, with our other stakeholders. But that's really developing the state level and then local level strategies that will help us refine our vision for the future program and sort of how to achieve that. And we'll develop actionable strategies, and the keyword's actionable. We don't want things that are, pie in the sky. Kathy, did you have something? Okay. And then we'll also conduct an analysis of the resources required to enact the changes and then sustain the future program. So what are the one-time infrastructure costs, and then what are the costs of sustaining, annual type of costs, whether that's we have to hire a new person, what is the cost associated with that recommendation? And then, like I had mentioned, so we'll draft it, edit it, and review with the several groups of stakeholders. Phase four is the implementation, which is actualizing that strategic plan, translating it into more detailed how to. That includes who's doing what, by when, et cetera. Monitoring the progress, reporting on that progress, and then of course adjusting as things change or as needs change. So here's our timeline for those different phases. Like I said, phase one's basically done. That lasted through September through November. We did the planning, the stakeholder mapping, and then we just launched our advisory committee yesterday. Phase two will last from November to March. That's the biggest piece, that desk research, the surveys, the interviews, focus groups, all those types of things. So collecting all that data, assessing the program as a whole and all of its different components, evaluating it, and then coming up with recommendations based on that feedback. Phase three it will last from March to June. It's a bit shorter, but it's, again, working more intensely with our advisory committee to hear the recommendations, what do those translate into actions, and then the review process, making sure everyone is bought into the plan, that it's something that's feasible, that it works for everyone at the different levels. And then phase four is implementation, which we hope to begin by July. Okay, this is where I'll talk about the advisory committee. So this is basically our diagram of the different types of stakeholders. We're planning to engage through, again, surveys, focus groups, and interviews to collect insights regarding the current and future state of the program. Our project team, that's myself, Steve Horner, the deputy secretary, Secretary Vulich, Glenda Ebersole is the policy director, and then Pat and his team. We'll all be working together for the research and management that I've been outlined, or that I had outlined in the 4 phases of work. The advisory committee will provide state level cross-agency perspectives for the future vision of the link. So, like I had mentioned, we just convened them for the first time yesterday. That includes, we have a member from the Pennsylvania Council on Aging, so an older adult who has been in this type of work for quite some time. We have 2 representatives from P4A, that's the Pennsylvania Association for Area Agencies on Aging, one of which was previously a lead coordinator, and the other is the director of policy. We also have one, Carol Boyle of the Bucks County AAA as a sort of AAA representative. We have a representative for the centers for independent living. Hillary Hassan is the sort of SIL director that's representing. We also have the executive director of the Pennsylvania Council on Independent Living, as well as the director of the Pennsylvania State Independent Living Council. We have representation from the Department of Labor Industry for the Office of Vocational Rehab, as well as the Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. We have 2 representatives from the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. We have 4 folks, I should say, from the Department of Human Services. That is 2 from Office of Long-Term Living, 1 from the Office of Developmental Programs, and then 1 is sort of a housing expert. Just knowing how much housing came up in the development of the plan, how much it continues to be a challenge, and especially with navigation when people need housing and specific types of housing. So we want to integrate that type of knowledge into our program design because it's such an impressed need. And then, of course, yeah, we have our PDA folks as well. Next, yeah, so then we'll be engaging, so program staff, that is our Aging and Disability Resource Offices at PDA, service area coordinators like Kathy, oversight committee members like all yourselves, and then local INR staff, so people who pick up the phone and answer questions and direct people, as well as the staff of our link line. So these several groups will be subject matter experts on the link and the daily program operations, and they'll help us provide perspectives again on the strengths and weaknesses, what's working, what's not working about the program, making sure that it because of course they're the people doing the work. We need to make sure the changes that we're making on a structural level are impacting in a positive way. So we will have. Does that answer your question, Krista? Okay. Next, we've outlined some of the several deliverables that we'll be working with throughout the process, sort of to accumulate the different knowledge and sort of collect our insights. Like I said, to start, the project plan, stakeholder map, communication plan, those are mostly internal just for the project management. Next, in January, we'll release a draft version of the standard, common, and promising practices report. Like I said, the data collection is already underway for that. Then in March, or I think, yeah, probably March, the PA Link evaluation report, again, that bigger collection of the themes and takeaways from all the surveys, interviews, and focus groups. Then the refresh recommendation reports, trying to keep organized, here's what needs to change, here's what needs to stay the same, here are the opportunities and the possibilities, as well as things that we need to be aware of as threats. And then finally, the strategic plan, which we're calling the PA Link refresh plan. We'll share these slides after. So this is more of a reference slide, but it just provides a little more detail on what each deliverable will include, more clearly defines them. And then so to start, are there any initial thoughts or concerns about the proposal? So who's the housing expert? Stephanie Meyer, she's I think, special assistant to the secretary. Yeah, she's great. And she also worked at an ADRC previously, so she's got all kinds of perspective to provide.
She works with our 811 team for housing as well, so it's good.
Yeah, we took a visit. I was with Stephanie when we took a visit to the Innovation Center in Pittsburgh.
Oh, good.
So very cool.
Nathan,
yes,
if I understood what you said correctly, I think you said something about building an infrastructure for the I guess online or whatever thing that you're going
the
to
contact center.
The what?
The contact center or the PA
Yeah. Okay. Whichever. I'm just wondering where do you think that funding is going to come from?
Oh, it's hard to say early. I know navigation is going to be a big focus of our funding requests in the next year. I also think we do serve 50% of the population we serve is older adults, 50% is people with disabilities, and that is negligible of the number of caregivers we serve and people who are either part of those two defined populations as veterans. So I think there's ways that we can braid our funding more for those types of infrastructure needs. Also, I think there's, again, several untapped resources for ongoing funding, such as Medicaid administrative claiming, which can reimburse for things that we are already doing. It's just, there needs to be a more formal process to do so. But I think it's still too early to tell where the funding will come from. And again, we will make sure we're defining what resources are needed in a very clear way. Okay. Any other initial thoughts or concerns? And the funding is always a big one.
Is there a broader plan, Nathan? You mentioned basically making the public fully aware of this and having it out there. Is there a marketing plan behind that? Is it going to be on a statewide basis? I know sometimes when PDA does, different kinds of promotional things, it hits different areas at different times. So
To me, it would make more sense, using the economies of scale to promote the link from a statewide brand, using that single phone number, but also understanding that it would also make more sense for us to develop collateral that the locals can use, like business cards, pamphlets, things like that. Or they just put in their own information tailored to their specific needs. Um, yeah, I'm assuming there's going like one of the recommendations will be a marketing and promotional campaign because nobody knows what the P link is or does. But along with that comes defining our messaging, defining what resonates with people, and then what is the best way to connect? Is it print advertisement? Is it social media, or is it something like a TV commercial? All of that's, I think, to be determined. I think the clear um, point is that something needs to be done to promote the brand.
So your goal would be to promote the 800 number or the statewide number as opposed to the local link members then.
I think that's my initial thoughts. I would let the data speak for itself once we get to that evaluation. So I don't want to get, too premature, but it makes sense to me. We have this existing call center that is can serve as a big net and a funnel into our locals. Um, and that's something that we can promote on a statewide consistent level rather than, here's this number, but there's also this number, and this is the link. I think people can be confused of the understanding what the link is more, whereas to me, it's more of a like the name for the nodes of the part of a network at the local level, that ADRC, where it's more of a seal, a good housekeeping seal, where we have Inglis is a member, is a part of the link, is the AAA is a part of the link, is the SIL is a part of the link. That it's more about the relationships in the back end thing to me, rather than here's the link number to call and we're um, you know dispersing through there rather than the link is the big funnel to me. But yeah, again, much to be determined based on people's things that are involved in the program, and that's just so my prior experience to coming to the state. I worked as a consultant. Mostly working with California's ADRC program, and they were doing more initial design rather than redesign. But so carrying some of that experience that I've learned from there as my initial thinking. But again, really hoping that the evaluation and assessment can help us determine the right steps.
Well, I was just glad to see that it's a reboot and not a discontinue. I was worried when she said, "Oh, we're going to learn about the new direction of the link," and I was like, "Oh, or the new plans." I don't know. I was worried, so I'm glad because I've heard that the funding for the aging kind of went through a problem this last fiscal year, or this current fiscal year. So I was just concerned. So I'm
And
glad to
so
see
this,
there's a plan in place.
yeah, and so the funding for this program specifically isn't related to the Penn Care or any of the state, but well, it is state funded, but it is CMS money that is matched by our state budget, but that's not necessarily Penn Care, so not necessarily AAA's funding. It is a little different there. But yeah, we don't want to, tear down and start from scratch when we have a pretty good scaffolding and some existing really good components that we can build on. So yeah, I think that's redesign is better than start from scratch. I'm going to move to my next question then. Are there any aspects of the project that particularly resonate with you? And I like to show this slide just because this is main focus that our long-term care councils were highlighting. I'm sure that there are other aspects that'll arise as we do the evaluation, but yeah, I've heard a lot about the state governance and oversight. I've heard a lot about people's interest in making aging and disability more of a 50-50 partnership rather than it seems to be the link has historically focused more on aging. We want it to be more equitable, to be suitable for both types, so it's actual aging and disability partnership. I've also heard a lot about person-centered counseling as a service offering and its reimbursement and how that process is done. So I'd love to hear more about what aspects come to mind that need to be really highlighted. Karen, I see you're off mute. I don't know if you were saying something, but I can't hear if you are. No thoughts. Don?
Well, I was just going to mention, the link, you're right, it does focus more a lot of times on the aging, especially if many individuals, the coordinators work out of the aging office. And then in our program, I'm finding I'm with English, or what used to be SDHP. I find we focus a lot on the other end. We focus on those within disabilities and not as much as the aging. And our funding comes from the same pot. So I'm hoping there can be more engagement between English and PA Link in the future. I think we complement one. We're serving the same populations. So I'm
Excellent.
hoping for more interaction.
Make it easier for both of us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don, it's Pat, and you're I'm sorry, it's housing, right? Is that the contract you're on?
Yeah, we were self-determination housing, a PA,
Right.
but we merged with Inglis.
Okay.
So
Right.
ours is, our
Okay.
funding is money follows a person, just
Right. Nathan and I were just on another oversight committee meeting in the Northeast, and a person from English was on, Kim
Kim.
Miner. Yeah.
Yep. Hmm. Yeah, and I was, link coordinator for 8 years, so I have a part. This is part of my heart. So
Yeah. You'll have plenty to share. All right. How about my next question? What potential challenges or barriers do you foresee, and how might we address them? Shouldn't put on brand. But Krista had mentioned, how this can be paid for. That's certainly something we're aware of and going to continue having our eye on. Um, any other challenges or barriers? I've been thinking a lot about the culture barrier, the challenge with getting people to understand that the program is changing and that trying to get everyone rowing in the same direction. Um, that's something I'm thinking of. We had someone in a previous group highlight a, a barrier is getting people to actually make the call. So make the call to the P link. So sometimes, something that the PACE Bureau does is a lot more outreach. So they have lists of people who are eligible for programs and they make the call. And highlighting that maybe that's something that the PA Link should do. If we see that someone's involved in one program in this county for, they get home delivered meals or the grab and go box, um, they might be eligible for, larger needs. So maybe we should be more responsible for doing that type of outreach from the call center.
Well, Nathan, I can't speak for the disability side, obviously. I do think a barrier is going to be also trying to get people to come to us before they're in crisis. No one wants to acknowledge that they're aging or that they will age, and that they'll need these things. So I really foresee that will continue to be a challenge, because they don't know what they need. 9 times out of 10, they call us. They don't know what they need. They just know what their problem is.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's a very great point, especially as we're designing our caregiver toolkit. Basically, that's helping caregivers navigate the resources. The P-Link is inseparably tandem with that caregiver toolkit, and some other states that I've spoken with, they're focusing really on promoting their brand and marketing to caregivers because they're more likely to do more that proactive planning and make those proactive calls even before they may identify as a caregiver. But I noticed that my grandfather is needing some more help, and so I can make the call. Hey, here's some suggestion, or more step into the role of caregiver rather than being thrust in a crisis. I think that's what we're all trying to avoid here.
yeah,
But I think
I was going to say reaching out to HRs in organizations where you have employees in that 40 to 50 year range, or 30 to 50, so that they can keep it, be aware of what's available for their loved ones.
exactly.
Because people do lose time at work and different things when they're starting to care, and it might at first it's just going to be a few appointments, but then it builds. So your HR is going to notice those things.
And we also know that providing caregivers with even just basic resources has such an outsized impact in comparison to, some of our more downstream interventions for older adults. So, giving people information on how to help lifting and feeding and bathing makes it a lot less demanding for that respite and burnout resources. All right. Maybe we'll do our last question here. What role I'm going to change the language a little bit. What role do you envision your organization or this committee or your respective groups playing in the development of this project? I had mentioned that we'll be engaging everyone again through surveys and interviews and focus groups, but I want to know about other ways that you can take this into outside of the oversight committee into your respective organizations and how we can partner for the project. I in another group, someone had mentioned bringing this information to their, this was a AAA in a government, but bringing it again as a concept to this is what no wrong door looks like at the state. Here's what it could look like at our local level, rather than just in aging and disability, but again, that multi-sector importance of aging. So translating our state initiatives into locals. Any other thoughts? All right. So last, any general questions, and then I think I'm all finished with my presentation.
This might be just a little off topic, but for people that are trying to find information and have no idea, it's probably just as hard in the big urban counties as it is in the very small rural counties. I was just helping some friends of mine in Allegheny County, which, let's face it, they have, everything in Allegheny County. You don't have to look very far to find things, but they had so much trouble finding resources, finding services, finding help. It was really very, very difficult, and it was overwhelming for them. So the need is definitely there to have this program and have those resources available and to make sure people know that they can contact someone to get up. They had no idea where to start in Allegheny County.
And I can give some examples. So we're again working on our caregiver toolkit. A lot of what we're focusing on is how are people searching for us? No one is searching caregiver toolkit. No one is searching disability related resources. Nobody's searching those types of things. It's more how do I lift someone out of their bed? Those types of questions that we can will help us capture people that are in need rather than our brand names that don't mean a whole lot to the general public. And we use a lot of jargon, we use a lot of industry terms that we really need to get outside of that, speak to people in ways that they can understand and in ways that they can actually find us. Yeah, I think it's a common saying that the AAAs, I think it applies to the SILs and other CBOs, the best kept secret, where we can't be a secret anymore. We have to be as and the link especially has to be as public as possible. People need to know about us. All right, well, that's all I have. So I'll add my email to the chat if anyone has any questions. I think, Kathy, will you be able to share the slides with them? And I think if you don't have them, I can send them again. If you could share them with the whole committee, that'd be great.
I will give it my best shot, Nathan. I see Krista smiling. She knows my technical skills.
Yeah.
I know your faith and your technical skills. Those are two different things.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for letting me saving some time for me, and I look forward again. This is the first of many conversations about the project that we'll have, and first of many engagements. So look forward to hearing more. All right.
Well, thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Mike,
Sure.
and the Oversight
Thanks.
Committee. And thanks to Tim for running this for us today. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Absolutely
Bye-bye.
no problem. You guys have a great Thanksgiving as well.
You too.